Hey guys, welcome back. So today we'll be going over the greatest common factor and the least common multiple using prime factorization. All right, so let's look at our first example. Let's look for the GCF and LCM for the numbers 12 and 32. So let's go ahead and factor my 12. I can factor into 3 times 4. My 4 I can factor into 2 times 2. For my 32, we have 4 times 8. My 4 is 2 times 2. And then my 8 here is 2 times 4. My 4 here I can factor into 2 times 2. So for my 12, we have 2 times 2 times 3. So I'm going to write 2 times 2 times 3 for my 12. And then my 32, we have 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. So let's look at our GCF. We're going to find a common factor that both my 12 and the 32 share. We have a match right here. So I'm going to write this 2 one time. We also have a match right here for this other 2. I'm going to write this 2 one time. And all the other numbers, I do not have any other matches, so those are going to stay out. So we have 2 times 2. This is going to equal 4. So your GCF is 4. So now let's look at our LCM. We have a match right here. I'm going to write this 2 one time. We also have a match right here. I'm going to write this 2 right here. And then all the other numbers, I have a 3, 2, 2, 2. I'm going to add them to my answer because I do not have any other matches. So this 2, I'm going to write it right here. It came from here. This other 2, I'm going to add to the line. I'm adding this other 2 here. And then we're adding this last 3 I'm going to add here. So let's go ahead and multiply. So 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 2 is 16. 16 times 2 is 32. And then 32 times 3 is going to equal 96. Let's try 18 and 30. Let's go ahead and factor my 18. I can factor my 18 into 2 times 9. My 9 can be factored into 3 times 3. For my 30, we can factor into 3 times 10. And then my 10, I can factor into 2 times 5. So my 18, we said, is 2 times 3 times 3. And then for my 30, we have 2 times 3 times 5. So now let's look at our GCF. We're looking for numbers that share the common factor. We have a 2 right here. I'm going to write this 2 one time. I have a 3 right here as well. I'm going to write this 3 one time. And all the other numbers are going to remain out because I do not have any other matches. So now we have 2 times 3. This is going to equal 6. So your GCF is 6. So let's look here for my LCM. We have a match right here. I'm going to write this 2 one time. We also have a match right here for my 3. I'm going to write this 3 one time. And then we have the other numbers. I do not have matches, but I am going to include them in my answer. When you're looking for the LCM, all of the numbers are going to be included. You just have to know how many times you have to write the numbers. Okay, so remember, all numbers are included for your LCM. You just have to keep track of how many times you're writing the numbers. So 2 times 3, this is 6. 6 times 3 is 18. 18 times 5, this is going to equal 90. So your final answer here is 90. Let's try the numbers 50 and 15. So let's go ahead and factor my 50. My 50 I can factor into 5 times 10. My 10 I can factor into 2 times 5. For my 15, we have 3 times 5, and I cannot factor any further, so I'm going to leave that alone. So 50 is 2 times 5 times 5. 15 is just going to be 3 times 5. Okay, so now let's look for our GCF. The common factor that both numbers share is going to be the number 5. So my GCF here in this example is 5. I do not have any other matches for the other numbers. For my LCM now, we're going to include all numbers, but we need to know how many of the numbers we're going to include. So we have a 5 here. I have a match right here. I'm going to write this 5 one time. The other numbers, I do not have any other matches. However, I'm just going to include them in my answer. I'm going to add this 5 here. I'm going to add this 2, and then we're going to add this 3. So now we have 2 times 3, that's 6. 6 times 5 is 30. 30 times 5, that's going to be 150. So I'm going to write 150 here. And this is your final answer. So let's try 12 and 42. We're going to factor my 12 into 3 times 4, my 4 into 2 times 2. For my 42, we have 7 times 6, and then my 6, we have 2 times 3. So 12 is 2 times 2 times 3, and then 42 is 2 times 3 times 7. So let's look at our GCF. A common factor that both numbers share, we have a 2 right here. I'm going to write this 2 one time. And we also have a match right here for my 3. So I'm going to include that 3 in my answer. I'm going to write that 3 one time. All the other numbers are going to remain out. So now we have 2 times 3. This is going to equal 6. So your GCF is 6. Now let's look for the LCM. So we have a match right here for my 2's. I'm going to write this 2 one time. Then we also have a match right here for my 3's. I'm going to also include this 3. Now the other numbers, this 2 here and this 7, I'm going to add them in my answer. So I'm going to write my 7 here and then this other 2 up front here. So we have 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 3 is 12. 12 times 7, this is going to equal 84. So your final answer here is 84. Let's try 16 and 18. So factors of 16, we have 4 times 4, and then my 4 I can factor into 2 times 2, and this other 4 is 2 times 2. For my 18, we have 2 times 9, and then my 9 we can factor into 3 times 3. So 16, we said 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. And then my 18, we said 2 times 3 times 3. So let's look for our GCF. The common factor that both my 16 and my 18 share is going to be the number 2. We have a 2 right here. And all the other numbers, I do not have a match between, so I'm going to leave those alone. So your GCF in this example is 2. Now let's look for my least common multiple. So we have a match right here for my 2. I'm going to write this 2 one time. We also do not have any other matches, so I'm going to include all the other numbers in my answer. So I'm just going to add them onto the list. We have a 2. I'm going to write this 2 down here, this other 2, this other 2 here, and then my 3's. There's 3, and then the last 3. All right, so now let's go ahead and multiply. So 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 2 is 16. 16 times 3 is 48. And then 48 times 3, that's going to be 144. So your final answer here is 144. So let's try to find the GCF and LCM of 3 different numbers. So let's do 12, 18, and 15. So let's go ahead and factor my 12. I can factor that into 3 times 4. My 4 can factor into 2 times 2. For 18, I can factor into 2 times 9. And then my 9, I can factor into 3 times 3. And then my 15, I can factor into 3 times 5. So 12, we said, is 2 times 2 times 3. So I'm going to write 2 times 2 times 3. 18 is 2 times 3 times 3. 2 times 3 times 3. And then 15 is 3 times 5. So 3 times 5. So now let's look for my GCF. I need to find the common factor that all 3 numbers share. So that is going to be the number 3. I have a 3 for my 15, a 3 for my 18, and a 3 for my 12. So your GCF in this example is 3. So now let's look for our LCM. Since I have 3 different numbers here, we're going to group 2 or more numbers together that share the common multiple. So we have a pair right here. I can write this 2. We're looking for 2 or more. between the three numbers. So this 2, I'm going to write that 2 one time. Next, we have another match right here for my 3s. All of them can have a 3, so I'm going to write this 3 one time. All the other remaining numbers, this 2, this other 3, and this 5, I do not have any other matches. I'm going to include them in my final answer. So I'm going to add this 3 from here. We got that. This 5 I'm going to add. And then this other 2 from up here I'm going to add as well. So we have 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 3 is 12. 12 times 3 is 36. 36 times 5, that's going to equal 180. So your final answer here is 180. Let's try 8, 24, and 30. Let's factor my 8. Factor that into 2 times 4. My 4 into 2 times 2. And then 24, we have 3 times 8. And then my 8 is 2 times 4. My 4 is 2 times 2. And then my 30, I'll go on this side here. We have 3 times 10. And my 10 is 2 times 5. So 8 is 2 times 2 times 2. So 2 times 2 times 2. And then 24 is 2 times 2 times 2 times 3. And then my 30 is 2 times 3 times 5. So 2 times 3 times 5. So let's look at our GCF. We need to find the common factor that all three numbers share. And we have a match right here. And that's going to be the number 2. I'm going to write this 2 one time. And we do not have any other matches, so all the other numbers are out. So your GCF in this example is 2. Now let's look at our LCM. We're looking for 2 or more matches now because we have to include all the numbers. So we have a match here of 2 or more. I'm going to include this 2 one time. And I have a match right here, 2 or more. I'm going to write that 2 one time. We also have a match right here, 2 or more. Got that. And this 3. Let's change colors so we can see. So this 3, I'm going to include that 3. I'm going to include this. And this last 5 right here, I do not have any other matches, but I am going to include it in my answer. All right, so now let's go ahead and multiply. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 3 is going to be 24. 24 times 5, that's going to equal 120. So your final answer here is 120. Let's try 3, 12, and 18. So let's factor my 3. 3, it cannot factor any further. Only numbers is going to be 1 times 3 because 3 is a prime number. For my 12, we can factor into 3 times 4. My 4 is factored into 2 times 2. For my 18, we can factor that into 2 times 9. My 9, I can factor into 3 times 3. So 3 we said is 1 times 3. I'm going to put 1 times 3 here and 1 times 3 here as well. For 12, we have 2 times 2 times 3. So I'm going to put 2 times 2 times 3. And then 18 is 2 times 3 times 3. So let's look at our GCF. Common factor that all three numbers share is going to be the number 3. So my GCF in this example is 3. All the other numbers do not have matches, so those are going to remain out. So let's look at our LCM. We're looking for 2 or more matches. So we have a match right here. This 2, I'm going to write this 2 one time. Next, we have 3s. I can include all 3 of these 3s. I'm going to include that 3 one time. I do not have any other matches, so I'm going to include all the other numbers in my final answer. So this 2, I'm going to include that 1, 2, and then that 3, and then a 1. So now we have 1 times 2 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 3 is 12. And then 12 times 3, this is going to equal 36. So your final answer is 36. Let's try one more example. Let's try 4, 8, and 16. Let's factor my 4 into 2 times 2. And then my 8, I can factor into 2 times 4. My 4 into 2 times 2 again. 16, I can factor into 4 times 4. And 4 is 2 times 2. And this 4 here is 2 times 2 as well. My 4 we said is 2 times 2. So I'm going to put 2 times 2 here. 8 is 2 times 2 times 2. So I'm going to put 2 times 2 times 2. And then 16 is 2, 2, 2, 2. So 4 2's. So now let's look at our GCF. We need to find the common factor that all three numbers share. We have a 2 right here that all three numbers share. And we also have a 2 right here, a match right there. This 2 I'm going to write one time, and this other 2 I'm going to write one time. All the other numbers do not have matches, so I'm going to leave that out. So 2 times 2 is going to equal 4. So your GCF is 4. Now let's look at our least common multiple. So we're looking for matches of 2 or more. So we have a match right here. I'm going to include this 2 one time. We have another match right here. I'm going to include this 2 one time. And here I just have 2 matches. I will still write this 2. I'm going to include that one time. And this last 2 here, I'm just going to add on to my answer. So we have 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 2 is going to equal 16. So your final answer is 16. All right, so that is all for today. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.